Hello everyone! In case you haven't heard, the perk Hex Ruin is getting a massive change. It will no longer affect skill checks. Instead, if a survivor isn't currently working on a generator, it will passively regress at twice the normal speed until it reaches 0. Now, this means the Hex Ruin will no longer be able to apply instant pressure while loading into a map. In the post that Behavior put out, they stated that this perk was used in 80% of high-ranked games, which is a huge amount, and by changing it, they're hoping to see more variety and use of perks in the game. I really like this change. I think it's going to force killers to play better and actually suffer from mistakes instead of just using Ruin to draw at the beginning, and the game will progress whether or not you've decided to equip one singular perk. But the early game is such a critical time for killers. Using Hex Ruin would be a way to prevent 2 to 3 gens from getting done before your first hook. Some maps are so huge that getting from one end of the map to the other would be enough time for a generator to be completed, depending on how many people would actually be on it. However, reworking maps to be smaller takes such a long time that it's not reasonable to ask Behavior to fix maps before making all those other changes. For a while now, I have been using Corrupt Intervention instead of Hex Ruin. Don't get me wrong, Hex Ruin is objectively better. It affects all generators, unlike a Corrupt Intervention which just blocks 3 generators for 120 seconds. But Hex Ruin is a hex and can be broken, while Corrupt Intervention has that consistency. Because I've been using this perk for a while, I think I have a way to fully utilize it to its full potential, using it to get that early game pressure and preventing generators from being completed right away before I've even gotten my first hook. So when you spawn into a game, you can see that the 3 furthest gens are blocked. Hopefully you spawned in a corner on a side, that way it's easier to locate the survivors and they're not all split around you. Sometimes you do spawn in the middle of the map and get weird blocked gens, but that doesn't mean your perk is completely useless. There's still blocked gens that survivors may have spawned next to and have to move to a different location, hence they don't immediately start working on the generator closest to them. Now that the timer is ticking, you need to find your first survivor, which, if you're on a stealth killer, may be tough. I found some immersed survivors stick by those corrupt gens and wait out the full 120 seconds. However, I find that to be very rare that all survivors do it, especially if a generator that isn't blocked is close by to where they have spawned. This is where my second perk comes into play. A very powerful combo that can help you find somebody early game is Corrupt Intervention and Whispers. Whispers lets you know if a survivor is within 32 meters of you. Using this knowledge, you can determine if a survivor is on a gen that isn't blocked. Or if no one is sitting on a generator, you can venture into the territory of corrupted gens and hopefully catch sight of someone. The best way to find someone is when they see you have corrupt and immediately start running further into the map. You'll be able to see scratch marks from afar and can use those to determine where a survivor is. Once you have found someone, it's do your thing and chase them and hook them. But if the chase is looking like you can't get a quick down, you need to abandon it. If you're playing on the game map and they run to that area above the bathroom with the 2 extremely safe pallets, then you need to leave and search again for other survivors, who are, most likely, now on a generator. Corrupt doesn't slow their ability to do gens, it just makes it easier to find them before they do like 2-3 gens before you've gotten your first down. Playing Huntress can add to my advantage because Huntress is able to down survivors pretty quickly. If you're playing someone like Ghostface and Pig, it'll be easy to stealth hit them and then get that second hit. Granted, they don't have a safe setup. Hillbilly can get a 1-hit down, Plague can break people with her vomit. You need to learn to play to each individual killer's strength to make Corrupt work. You need to get that early hook pressure to make at least one person get off a gen to come and save. Killers that require game setup can benefit even more from Corrupt Intervention. Instead of using Whispers to find somebody, perhaps you can concentrate on making a side of the map more deadly to play on while you know survivors aren't working on that specific side. Trapper and Hag can place traps on one side, and then when the time comes to play a loop there, you set up to quickly down people and win the game. I know it seems that not using a powerful perk like Hex Ruin will be tough. I've been playing with Corrupt Intervention for a while now, and I can say that I've had a fair amount of success with it. It is dependent on how you are with your killers, and sometimes you will get those good survivors that know what they're doing and give hard chases. However, old Ruin wasn't effective against these survivors either. When you lose games, you shouldn't blame it on the Ruin change. Hopefully you learned a little bit of what Corrupt Intervention is from this video, and you decide to give it a shot. You may find the consistency of it to be relaxing, instead of having to defend a totem and focus purely on chasing and map pressure. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Have a wonderful night.